Talk to me about
Um,
some airline jazz.
yeah, this is an interesting one. It's been very controversial. So obviously, a lot of things are changing now with the COVID normals and whatever you want to call it. And Qantas, the CEO, recently came out and was talking about how if you want to fly internationally, you're going to have had a COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
And that sparked really interesting response. I thought, okay, I'm interested to see what happens here because me personally, I wouldn't, I'm as far from an anti-vaxxer as you possibly find. I've
Yeah.
vaccinated my kids.
So have I.
Me and my wife are vaccinated. I think when we've gone on holidays, we get vaccines and stuff like that. But for some reason, I'm very skeptical of a
You are.
vaccine which has been developed within like less than a year. It's like it doesn't make any
I,
sense to me. Like
I
logically, it doesn't make any sense. Like I look at they've had coronaviruses for many years now and never created a vaccine for it. I mean, they've got a vaccine for the flu, but that really changes. So it's just also it's a very authoritarian thing to do to suggest that to get on this flight to go internationally, even though you might not have it, actually, I should say the fair chance is like a bigger chance is that you don't have it.
mm-hmm.
So the need for a vaccine to go on a flight seems ridiculous. I mean, and if you've had the vaccine, what are you worrying about one person who hasn't had the vaccine? I don't get it. It doesn't logically make much sense to me. And I see the whole argument behind it where people are like, oh, well, you've still got a choice. It means you just don't get to go on a flight. And it's like, is that really a choice? Where do we draw the line and what?
Well, the choice has been taken away from you, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's a really interesting study in the way that people react to it. I don't know. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's completely natural for you to be skeptical about a vaccine that's only been around for 12 months. That to me, that's not skeptical. That's wise. You know, whether or not it's safe or not safe or whatever, I think is irrelevant. The fact that you're asking questions about it, or we are asking questions about, I think that's completely fine. What you know, if we're going to put something in our body that is completely new, I'm not saying I won't. I'm not saying I won't. What I am saying is I'm going to research.
I'm happy for other people to be the test case first. If they're all good.
Let's see how that lot go, and then I'll decide whether I'm gonna.
So I'll just travel Australia for the next 5 years, and then when I'm 45, I'll jump on a plane and go overseas. I'm like, 5 years later, any problems with that vaccine? No. Okay, let's go.
Well, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have the money to go anywhere in the next 5 years overseas anyway. So meh.
Yeah, I mean, dude, just talking about. Speaking of going on Qantas, imagine going on Qantas with a family of 5 to anywhere. That's like anywhere starts for you, like just flights is like minimum 5-6 grand already, right?
Oh, listen, when we come to Melbourne, like it's generally, I mean, this year has been like my ability to come over has just been stripped. I just haven't been able to come over. But generally, when I come and visit, I come by myself. There's a reason for that, because it's just too expensive.
It's ridiculous.
And that is like within the country.
Yeah, I'm the one thing I'm actually excited about the move up north as well is the actual flights aren't too bad. So like you'd be able to get at sometimes like a return flight for $150.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's like about $300. So it's not too bad.
It's not too bad, and it's not a long flight.
And I personally can claim it on tax because I'm going back home for work.
Boom.
Well, technically that's why I would be coming back. So it is too legit.
Like, when am I going to see you, man?
I don't know.
You don't seem bothered by that at all. Thanks.
I haven't seen you for that often for the last, how long has it been now?
I've been here for 7 years, 7.5 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a while.
Yeah.
You're basically from that other country called WA.
I am forever a Melbourneite. I live in Perth. I am a Melbourneite at heart forever.
Technically, it'd be about half that you've left. If you stay there, it would have been half your life in either side. By the time you get to like
Who knows
80
what's
or whatever
gonna
it
happen?
is.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, okay. So airlines. Look, I understand why they're doing it. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's very.
I take your point that it feels very dictatorish.
Well, I'm not an easy to trust person. Like, I don't. You need to earn my trust before to say, oh,
Yeah.
you're a government person or a big CEO. Okay, yeah, thank you. I'll believe everything you say. Okay, no worries.
Well,
I just don't get that.
What about what he said in the article? He said that, in discussions with his colleagues who also have airlines, that they're all looking at doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Does that fill you with a bit more confidence? The fact that it's not just Mr. Qantas, but it looks like it'll be that way across the board.
Confidence. It just feels like that they're getting together to say, yeah, we all agree to it, and they're banding together.
Right.
And again, to your point, is like playing devil's advocate. I totally understand.
Yeah.
Why they're doing, because they're only reacting to, which I will still say to this day is a massive overreaction. Yes, I get it. People are dying, but this is not the pandemic they once yelled about at the start of this, without saying in America that 2 million people would die. If they said it was a low pandemic in Australia, 20,000 people would die. Like, this stuff hasn't happened. And I get it. Like, a lot of the actions that governments have taken can be attributed to, the lowering the deaths. But at the end of the day, if you take examples of where it has gone, crazy, like USA, Sweden in lockdown. USA is kind of locking down, but they're too much. Yeah, freedom in America. So, so they've kind of. But you actually look, like, this is the thing that people struggle to do. I find is like just look at something critically. Yes, I get it. People are dying. People are dying from this disease. Cool. What's that in the grand scheme of things? And it's like, this is how I think. I can't help it.
Yeah.
But then I looked at the statistics for Sweden and USA on their average deaths per year. And basically Sweden is going to have less deaths this year than they did like on average.
Oh.
And USA is going to be about the same. So I rationalize that as saying that in the mix of all things, people dying, the same amount of people still dying. Like.
Yeah, but okay, but then my question is, how of that percentage, how many of those were COVID deaths?
Oh, just like strictly.
Yeah. So you're saying, like, say Sweden had however many thousand, okay?
I think they had about 5,500 or something deaths.
Right, and that's generally what the trend is for Sweden.
Oh no, so just for COVID, 5.5.
Right, and what's it normally?
Oh, let me bring up the stats. Actually, that's a good question. Let me bring it up. I got the computer out today. So when I look at it, Sweden deaths per year, 2010 to 2020. Here we go. Statista. My friends at Statista. Here we go. So 2010, 90,487. Actually, I'll do the last 3 years. 91,972. 92,185, 88,766, and we've got what, a month to go,
Mhm.
and there are 81,000 this year.
So it's dropped.
Yeah. So if you do the averages, they'll probably get another 7,000. They'll be 88,000 like last year.
Right. So, and then how many of those deaths were from COVID? Does it say or?
80. So out of the 81,000,
Yeah.
5,500. But then you look at it like what other deaths has it stopped? So for example, someone who may have died from a heart attack that year got COVID as well. So I think in the mix, the way that the world works is that kind of like,
That's terrible.
well, it's harsh, but like a majority of the deaths have been people in nursing homes, right? So
Yeah.
I think the average life expectancy in a nursing home is, once you're in there, the average before someone dies is like 9 months. So technically, anyone who was in there most likely would have died that year anyway. It's kind of a weird way to look at it.
I feel really disqualified from the discussion because we just have no idea over here in the West. We've
My
got
cousin in
no idea.
France, my cousin in France has got it, like he's in hospital and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I read that he, bizarrely, on those PCR tests, the ones that they're using as the gospel to whether or not you've got it or not, he failed it twice. But then when they did a actual real hard study, they're like, "Oh no, you look like you've got COVID." But the test said no.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. That's not good.
No, I think he's okay. Like he looks pretty. I think they're at a stage now for young people. Like he's a little bit younger than me. Yeah, they got the treatment now. That's why, interestingly, I always like to try and look at the optimistic side of these things. I can't help but like you look at America, it's like, oh, the cases are going out crazy. Anyway, that's true. That's true. Like the cases versus say in the early period are probably like 5 times higher now. But even though the cases are 5 times higher, the deaths are still lower than before as well. So it's I don't want to use the term herd immunity. I want to talk out of school because I'm not an epidemiologist, but from what it seems like, they've either figured out better ways to treat it, or there's some form of herd immunity sort of getting into the community and people are fighting it up better, or they're protecting older people better. Like
yeah. But I think also that, like, I hear what you're saying, like maybe the rate of people that have contracted COVID is more than the deaths, right? But I think from their perspective, they don't know if someone contracts COVID, they don't know how that's going to go for that person. They don't know whether that's going to result in a death or not. So that's, I think, do you know what I mean? So I understand that. Well, I understand the argument. They go, oh, but this many people got COVID, they didn't die. It's like, okay, like I take your point, but if the next person gets it, they don't know that person's immunity, that like immune system, how robust it is. I think it's a lot of that as well. They can't risk like not knowing how it's going to manifest in each person's body. So hence the umbrella. So what seems like it's quite extreme, what seems quite extreme, I think maybe has got to do with the fact that they're trying to lower the risk of death. Because yes, like one person might have got it, it was really bad, and they came good, and then another person got it and died. And it's not necessarily an age thing all the time.
So why this logic now, given we've had many viruses that have killed many people in the past?
I don't know. I
That's
don't
the question I ask. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, I feel like there was a combination of extreme fear pushed at the start to freak people out, and like I still see it now. Sorry, I shouldn't call them that. They're not even useful. They've been brainwashed so hard and scared so much that today, still to this point, they are still walking around the streets with their face mask on.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the street, I'm like, dude, even people in cars, I'm like, oh my God.
In cars?
Yeah, I can't deal.
Why
I'm
would
like,
they have it on in a car?
I have no idea. Like by themselves. I'm not saying with other people in the car, like by themselves in a car with a face
Okay.
mask on. It
I
doesn't
don't.
make
Maybe
any
they
sense at all.
forgot. Maybe they forgot.
You think it's been normalized so much that literally just it's like a necklace
Like a
or
hat.
watch.
Just
Like,
a hat on your face. It's like a face hat.
a face napkin. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Or is it? It's their blue mask. It's like, what's all these nurses walking around? This is weird.
Yeah. Well, I had
Yeah,
I had a hearing test today, and the doctor that did the test, she wore a mask the whole time.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me. I was just like, you know what, you do you.
Yeah.
I just want to know if I'm deaf or not. That's all.
Will make sense in a closed, confined space. Like, I got no problem. I actually had no problem with face masks early on in closed areas, in shopping centers. Like, I didn't get why they weren't in there. Like,
Yeah.
idiots walking around the fruit and veg section with their dirty hands and the
Well,
guy ate an
okay,
apple, got COVID.
I do have a COVID contention. Like, riddle me this. So my 6-year-old daughter, she's in the Australian Girls Choir, right? She's got a concert this Saturday. Only one
Yeah.
parent is allowed to come, but yet we have the grand final. Like, what? I don't understand.
There's
And
just way too much hypocrisy. Like,
that I don't understand. That I don't understand. And then also, my 12-year-old son next week is going to have his year 6 graduation. So the parents are allowed to be there, but the siblings have to be in a classroom watching the live stream.
Yeah.
You know?
That's bizarre. So who got the ticket? That's what I want to know.
To the Australian Girls Choir?
Yeah, which one are you and Matt?
Me all the way. Nah. I was like, that's mine, bro. Sorry.
Did Matt go, no, I want it? Or was he like, yeah, that's okay?
He knew he had no chance. He's just like, I'm out. Nah. I'm just going to have to put up with the video recording. Distorted.